Hello and welcome once again to the CGW podcast. I can use the old greeting since neither Darren or Sean are here today to make fun of me for saying it. So there it is. I said hello and welcome. With me today are two of the CGW staff members. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Ryan Scott.
And Sean Malloy.
And we have a very, very special guest today. One of the stars and the, what is your title? Producer?
Yeah, producer.
Of the One-Up Show, Jane Pinckard.
Hello, and I feel welcome.
Well, you are most welcome. You may join us anytime. And as usual, on the mixing board over there is Mr. Scott Asnault.
Hey, kids.
Hi. So thank you both for joining us, the reduced CGW staff today. Jane, you did such a great 2 theme songs now for the One-Up Show, and we still have none here at CGW.
Well, you should give me some lyrics, because I'm really bad at writing lyrics, which you can probably tell if you hear the One-Up Show theme song. It's pretty much, it's pretty repetitive. Yeah. So send me some lyrics, and
you can do the music.
Yeah.
We got a couple reader submissions.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't want to. No, they're probably listening now, and very nice job, fellows. The one we heard today was a little odd, though, don't you think?
A little bit, especially because it had the little edits of your voice in there.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was about.
Wow, somebody did a remix?
They did. They kind of did a remix with me. So like, hello and welcome.
Hello and welcome. Hello.
Yeah. And welcome. But the music was just kind of like, what did you say it was, Ryan? It was like a...
I said it was... It sounded a little bit like some kind of Colombian drug dealer.
Right, like opium den or something.
That sounds cool. I think you should have a contest for open it up.
Yeah.
Best theme song.
Yeah.
It can be instrumental, too. It doesn't have to have lyrics.
Right.
Right. But what would befit CGW? Like, like sort of like trancey house music, or like, ragtime. What would
ragtime for the old man?
Exactly.
Harpsichord chamber music.
What would suit our crowd?
Oh my goodness.
60s folk rock.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Jane here, and Jane, you play a lot of PC games, don't you?
Well, I do when I get the chance, yeah, but I do. That was definitely the first console that I ever had, so...
Awesome.
I still play.
You reviewed Dreamfall for us.
Yes.
First CGW review.
Yes, and it was a wonderful experience. No, I'm not even kidding, because Ryan gave me that game, and I think, he said, this is a pretty tight deadline. We have to do it before E3 was when the issue was going to ship. And we were all really busy, but honestly, I could not stop playing the game anyway. So I finished it, I think, in about 3 days.
Did you have to cheat?
I did have to look up a couple of things, yeah. It's not... But somebody had sent me the official FAQ.
Yeah.
And that was very, very helpful. But it was pretty hard.
Did the puzzles make sense to you mostly? Or were there ones that were just like, sometimes when I play adventure games, if I give up and I look at the answer, I'm just like... my brain never would have made that connection.
Right. There's a couple. There was one room I remember I was stuck in, and I interacted with every single thing I could, and it turned out that you had to interact with the door 3 times, and on the 3rd time you would break through. That's something like that. That was hard. I didn't know that.
They didn't give you any clues on the first and second try that it might give way, or did it?
On the first try, it did not, but on the second, it did say the door seems to be rotted through, or something like that. So it did give you a clue, but I only tried it once.
Right. Well, once ought to do it. I don't know, unless there's some sort of vocal cue, like
Right.
That's always how those games are.
Yeah.
All adventure games.
So do you like them or not? Do you like adventure games? Who likes adventure games?
I think we all do here in this room.
At least when they made them.
When they made
very
them.
Few and far between these days. So.
Yeah, why is that? Why do you think that genre, which used to be like the biggest in PC games with like Myst and stuff, why is that sort of gone away?
Myst and the Gabriel Knights.
Doom came out. That's pretty much what killed it.
Yeah.
It's weird because, it's just a whole different way of using your brain, right?
Well, I think it's more so Half-Life came out and put together both the adventure game and the first person.
I totally agree with you. I do. I was playing Half-Life 2 Episode 1 this weekend. Finally, I downloaded it. And that game, to me, this one especially, more than Half-Life 2 or 1, it's this episodic one that I really felt all weekend like, wow, I'm just playing an adventure game here. I mean, you don't even get... Have you guys played it yet?
Mm-mm.
No.
Just a
You don't
smidge.
even get... I don't think it's a big spoiler, but you don't even get a real gun until the third chapter. It's just you and the gravity gun. And it's basically just adventure game puzzles from one room to another. You know, you go to the next part of the game, the next environment, and it's just, well, how do I get out of here now?
Mm-hmm.
How do I get over there? And it's usually something involving the gravity gun. It's all logic. You know, I got to move this thing over here to do this over there. You know, I haven't shot anything yet, you know, and it did make me think, well, this is what's happened to the genre. Now I'm doing logic puzzles with physics.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because the old style adventure games, like, I think physics is a much more intuitive way to do a puzzle than to, like, give you a bunch of random items in your inventory and hope you click on, you know, the pot of honey and the comb at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of the ones in The Longest Journey were like, whoa.
Yeah, that was a tough game.
That was a hard game.
Yeah.
But I, you know, those old adventure games, I wasn't even playing for those insane, you know, random puzzles. It was more for the narratives.
Yeah, I agree. When like a game like Longest Journey, I think I pretty much played with the walkthrough in front of me because I really just wanted to experience the story. I didn't want to get hung up too much on the puzzle part, you know. LucasArts games, though, all those wacky inventory puzzles, like that was kind of the fun of it, right? Like they weren't very logical in a real world setting. You sort of had to get into that mind, like goofy logic.
I don't know if it's fun for some of them. There's a couple in one of the Indiana Jones ones, I can't remember, where it was just you had to combine 3 totally random things and use it on something else. And I remember screaming at my monitor after. It was just like, I can't believe that was it. Because I was just at the point where I was just clicking every possible permutation of everything on my screen.
That was when the genre
that was before
devolved.
fax. You know, you could just download them off the net.
Yeah, so did you used to do that? I remember always having my inventory open and just clicking everything on everything else.
Oh, sure. That's the first thing that you do. But it's true. Like other RPGs, too, like Fallout had some adventure-y kind of elements to it, too, I felt like. Like there were little, you know, like fixing, I had to fix the water pump, and then there's a secondary thing you have to do after you do, you know, and you have to sort of go through, you have to talk to this person and get this item and then figure out how to combine it with. There was a skill in there, wasn't it? Like a science skill or something.
There was a science skill
That would help you repair items or put things together and stuff like that. So not only did FPSs bring some adventure elements, but also I think those sort of
that's a good call, the RPGs.
And stuff.
Actually, I think System Shock 2 did that a little bit too.
Yeah,
right.
That was a great.
That was a great game.
Yeah.
But then the question remains, like, I mean, you played Dreamfall and you liked it.
I loved it.
So maybe there still is a place for that traditional point-and-click sort of adventure.
I loved it, but I also, you know, Garnet hated it. And although I think he's wrong, I do understand, like, when I read his review, I understand every point that he's making.
Yeah.
And they're real. They're true points. I just think that there's so many other things going on in that game. Like you said, the story or the you know, emotional attachment that I started feeling for the characters. I really just needed to know what was going to happen to them.
So is that what you loved about it, not the puzzle solving aspect, or was it?
Well, some of the puzzles are really good, especially I would say in the first half of the game they were really good. And when you solve them, I felt like I'm smart and I figured this out, and that's the kind of reward you want.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
The later puzzles did start getting a little obtuse, and then there was the combat, which was a really bad call. I don't know why they decided to put in combat.
That's to appeal to the youth.
Well, it appealed I don't know if it appealed to anyone.
And did you have to go through the combat?
Yeah, you had to.
You couldn't skip it?
You couldn't skip it. There were some... it was very bizarre. There were 2 or 3 scenes where you were just sort of dropped into combat, and you couldn't run off, you couldn't run away, you couldn't find another way around. And what I loved about the first Longest Journey is that April couldn't die. Like, you could make it, you know, you could not solve the puzzle.
Right, there's something
but she was never... Yeah, she
reassuring
never...
about that.
Right, and the whole idea is not to be in combat, really. And they sort of gave that up, and I died so many times in these stupid combat things.
Yeah, the ability to die kind of curbs experimentation.
You know, that was an old LucasArts rule. You could never die in a LucasArts game. That was across the company.
That must have happened after Maniac Mansion, because I remember there were specific characters that could die.
In Maniac Mansion?
You could die.
So.
You could die in
because you couldn't die in
Maniac
Full Throttle.
Mansion. You could die in the Indiana Jones game, but that's just like Indiana Jones. Of course, you're going to be in danger.
Right. Grim Fandango, you were already dead.
So you couldn't die anymore.
Right.
That's interesting, the role of death in games. And does it make it more exciting when you can die?
In all the old Sierra games, it used to be fun just to figure out the ways you could die, just to see all the stupid death messages that they programmed in.
Well, death in like an action kind of game like serves the purpose of making you not be an idiot constantly.
Right.
And like in an MMO, it serves a big purpose because it has the same kind of, if this isn't challenging and if death doesn't mean anything, then, we'll just all be a bunch of idiots until we break the system and...
Well, that was kind of the, that's the argument with the guys making Vanguard now.
Right. That's why they still have corpse runs in their game, even though everyone after EverQuest pretty much said, oh my God, no one ever wants to do a corpse run. That's terrible.
Right. They're saying, no, it should have a consequence. When you die, that means you did something wrong and you should have to pay for it.
Right.
I also feel like maybe that's a cheap way out. I mean, it's easy to make someone die. It's harder to build a challenge around something else. Like, what are other ways that games can teach us success and failure without having to... Basically, dying is ending the game, and that's a big failure.
Right.
And it breaks the pace of the game.
There's some great quests in Oblivion that kind of have multiple paths that make you kind of like feel bad instead of killing you. Like
humiliation.
Yeah, like either or like just moral like sickness. You're just like, oh, I can't believe that's the conclusion I came to, even though there's like a bunch of other possible conclusions.
Right. Yeah. So. Yeah, Oblivion had some of that, didn't it?
Yeah, that's
right.
Like
that's right.
There was that one half elf like paranoid guy who lived in Skingrad or something like that. That was
that guy.
Yeah,
who asked you to like follow people around for him.
Oh yeah.
I love that guy.
I did that a few times.
Did you kill him in the end?
I eventually did.
You did? You killed him?
But after I did it, I'm like, that can't have been the right way to do it. And then I found out.
What was up with that guy? What did he want?
He wants you to follow other villagers.
Right, but did it ever come out? Because I didn't finish that quest. Like, why you were following them?
Well,
because he thought they were.
I did it. Yeah, he was really paranoid that they were like had some conspiracy theory against you. And then like when you do follow him around, there's no. At least when I played it, I said, who knows if this is actually it? But when I played it, I followed him around. They were like, hello. I'm just going to work, and they never really. And then you like would bring him up. You say, "Hey, do you know about this crazy half elf?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, he's a little off, isn't he?" And then they go about their business. But then just kept building and building, and you're you're still not sure if he might be right or if he's crazy. And then I did. The way I finished it was, I had the guards kill him.
But why do you kill him? What did you do that for?
He goes mad at one point.
Well, at the end,
crazy.
like after you, I think when I did it, I said all three of these people he had me follow were there's nothing wrong with them. They're not following you. They're insane. And he turned on me. He said, you must be part of the conspiracy too. So he killed me. But then I reloaded, and I did this like 5 times to try different ways. And I said, okay, the third guy, oh yeah, he did say, he is following you. So, and then he gave me a secret note that said, okay, now go in his house and kill him. So
wow.
And then you can go kill these guys if you want.
Or you can alert the guards.
Yeah. And I felt really bad about killing those guys because then like some sort of dark vision started watching me or something. But yeah, there's so many different ways to go, and like none of them felt right.
That's why I feel like, how Oblivion got re-rated to be an M-rated game, but I feel like it kind of should have been M-rated to begin with, because I mean, it does deal with mature themes like insanity and madness, and it does ask you to do a lot of things that one considers sort of like maybe there's no blood, but does that make it any less icky to like kill innocent people in their sleep, which one quest wanted me to do?
That's really good.
I don't know if I saw
that. Wasn't the vampire quest, was it? Or
no, it wasn't the vampire quest, because those are vampire. No, it was one of the Dark Brotherhood quests. In fact, all the Dark Brotherhood quests are kind of like
intense,
that. Yeah.
Did you guys do the quest where you had to get the thing that, like, was it a ring or something that's at the bottom of that well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did that.
Yep.
What was the... Did you, like, have to strip naked to pick that thing up? That's what I ended up doing.
That's what I did,
and I left all my stuff outside, and then someone stole it or something.
No, No way.
Yeah, I was afraid of that. Yeah.
Because it was gone when it came out. I don't know if it just like game mechanic bug or if like someone actually stole it.
I always wondered about that because until I got my house, I would have all this stuff with me and I would just sort of deposit it in areas around the world and come back to it later. And I always wondered if it makes sense that other people would take it.
Right. Then I started leaving things only in like the Mages Guild. Because then it never got stolen.
I stole the Mages Guild blind. I stole from them. I robbed them blind.
Without repercussions?
No.
Once you join, you're allowed to sell all other stuff.
Part of your M-rated thing right there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, the definition of M is a little too based on bullet points.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, it's usually all, you know what? It's either sex or violence.
The end,
Yeah, I just was looking at the requirements for Heroes of Might and Magic 5, which I'm reviewing. I saw it was rated teen, and I was like, I didn't understand why, because it's just this, you know, completely harmless fantasy strategy game. It's like chess. So I looked at the ESRB thing has a breakdown of what's in it. And it's like blood, something, and suggestive themes. I played this game from start to end. What is suggestive in this game with like dwarves and fairies and, you know, titans? I can't figure it out. I'm thinking now it's cleavage is a suggestive
could
theme.
Be it. Like someone like RSRB was like, that
high elf cleavage equals suggestive theme.
Yeah.
That's hot.
Well, I did, speaking of suggestive themes and so on, I did attend that conference last week, which was all about, basically, I guess, AO games. It was about games that featured sexuality as a pretty big component of the game itself, and that was kind of interesting.
You're going to make us all nervous here in the podcast.
Games. I'm sorry.
We have a woman on our podcast talking about sex.
Well, that was the other interesting thing at this conference. It was there were more women there in proportion than I've seen at GDC.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And the average age was up there.
So why do you think that is? What do you think that means?
Well, I asked a question about it on my blog, and I'm not exactly sure. I think for one thing, women are maybe more interested in talking about the repercussions of sex because of, like...
we just want to do it and have a sandwich after.
Well, because women have more consequences from it. You know, like you could say pregnancy or emotional attachment or whatever. Like, so women, I think, tend to want to talk about it more in terms of how it affects their lives. And secondly, I think it's, you know, men might want to talk about it, but it seems maybe sleazy if a guy starts just, you know, talking about sex in mixed company, whereas if a woman broaches the subject, it may be easier in some ways.
So do you think it's sleazy that we're talking about it with you now?
No, because I brought it up.
Okay, good.
See, but that's the thing. It's like you sort of wait for a safe person to bring it up, maybe. I don't know exactly, but there were a lot of women there.
Well, I think a lot of people are just so afraid of who they might offend. Yeah. You know, it's like we'll have some of the lewdest conversations over in the DLTV area. And now we have a new news reporter. Her name's Natalie. And it's like, I knew she was gone. And I saw that somebody posted the Internet is for Porn World of Warcraft video. Yeah. And I turned it up a little bit. Patrick freaked out. You know, he's like, but her. And I was like, she's gone. Oh, okay, never mind. You know, it's we're so afraid of who we're going to offend with the subject of sex, because when guys talk about it,
well, especially when they're acting like 13-year-olds.
Well, there's that too. Yeah.
Which is our entire industry.
Yeah. So, I mean, that I think is a big part of it, is who are we going to offend and what are they going to do about it? And, you know, especially in the work environment, that's a whole host of problems.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, so it was a little weird to be at this conference where everyone's talking very seriously and very academically about how to what people are sexually excited by and what kind of fetishes there are on the internet and all this stuff. And then at the same time, you have running in the background this game called Virtual Hottie 2, which is like this straight up
has that.
game where, I don't know, it was just very bizarre. I felt extremely awkward, like at junior high sex ed class where it's like, you know, we have all these clinical terms and you're just sort of on the verge of giggling the whole time because it's like, I don't know. It was just, there was a little bit of an odd odd vibe. But it was very interesting. There are a huge number of people, I guess, who are interested in adult-oriented content on every platform, including mobile, which seems kind of like, and I saw like a sample mobile game, and it was kind of like Naked Sims, and I was like, okay, but wouldn't you,
so small.
wouldn't you rather just watch porn or something then?
That's what I don't get.
Yeah, there was an interesting question about why wouldn't you just do porn instead of doing these weird sex games where it's
it's like we used to have these games around CGW that were like these strip bowling games.
Yeah.
You know, as you keep bowling well, then the FMV girl takes off another item of clothing, and it's like, why bother?
It's got to be the element of control. I mean, I think that's the only explanation, because obviously, like, it's, especially with the older games you're talking about, there's not, the quality isn't nearly as high.
Right.
So it's got to be about some level of control in that kind of situation.
Yeah, and it is, like, some of the panelists were talking about how there was a guy there who is a sexologist. I guess he's a sex therapist and
That's
stuff.
a nice career.
Yeah. And he was saying
Aren't
that
we all?
for the most part, a lot of people have it in their heads, right? Like, it's in their head, so it's about whether or not you respond to just pure images, or whether you need to have, like, some people don't respond unless they think there's an actual other person, a real person.
Okay.
Like, for example, in phone sex or in cyber sex. I hate saying that word.
The online chat,
the online chat stuff. Like, they want to know at least that there's someone else there to get out. Or there's all kinds of different things, I guess. But some of those sex games just frankly do not look very sexy to me.
Right, like Rihanna Rouge. Remember that one?
You guys see that Lula 3D game that...
Lula 3D.
Oh, yeah. I've seen Lula 3D, yeah.
And then on, like...
Jet, doesn't that stuff just kind of embarrass you? I totally have that just look at porn reaction every time I see one of those. I mean, if the goal of the game is to see whatever... nakedness, like, it's out there. You know,
you don't have to.
So I've heard.
You don't have to virtually bowl a good game.
Type naked into Google, and you'll have plenty of time.
I swear, like, 1 7/10 split, and I'd just be, forget it. Never mind. I'm just going to Google naked girls. Screw this bowling.
There's a whole other element of, like, how people can be even attracted to, like, the night elf character on the screen. 'Cause it's such an abstraction of.
Look at all the people that play Second Life. You were there when they were doing all that stuff, right?
Right.
Like, what's with that?
Yeah, well, with Second Life, because it's an MMO, I think a lot of the excitement comes from knowing that other people are participating and reacting. And, like, some of the people on panels and stuff said there were a bunch of developers there who develop erotic MMOs, which I learned was called MMOEG, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Massive multiplayer online
erotic games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Way to go, Jeff.
I was never good at the whole alphabet thing.
This is a big enough thing that they need their own abbreviation?
Yeah, I guess so. There are like 5 coming out later this year, I guess.
5?
And they're saying that a lot of people also seem to like to explore alternative lifestyles, whether it's playing as a different gender, which, as we all know, is very popular in standard MMOs. So you can take it maybe a step further, or exploring, like, homosexuality or bisexuality or furryality.
We've discussed that a lot at CG.
Oh, God.
This is not the first time this has come up in the podcast.
Somehow furries keep coming up in our podcast.
They don't seem to like us very much either.
Who, the furries?
Yeah. We got some pretty strongly worded emails last time we brought it up.
From furries?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not as an organized group. Not like the official body of furries sent us a form letter.
Right.
So it was just like
Which
one dude.
would be funny as well.
Right. I'm getting a signal that we have to break. Is that right, Scott? We have to break?
It is.
Okay, we're gonna break for our lovely sponsor, and we'll be right back.
I support furries.
One Up Network Radio is being brought to you by And One Street Ball, the only authentic street ball game featuring the full roster of And One mixtape tour players. That's guys like Hot Sauce, Helicopter, and the Professor. It's available for PlayStation 2 and Xbox for $39.99 on Tuesday, June 6th at your favorite online and real-world stores. And One Street Ball is rated E10 for everyone 10 and up. Hi, this is Garnet Lee, host of One Up Yours. Every week in the month of June, One Up Radio, along with And One Street Ball, is giving away $100 iTunes Music Store gift cards. All you have to do is listen to One Up Yours this Friday afternoon to learn how to win. Or you can find the contest rules at our message boards. That's boards.oneup.com. $100 in iTunes goodness courtesy of And One Street Ball and the One Up Radio Network. Sony Computer Entertainment takes no responsibility for this offer.
And we're back. I was gonna look at the copy for that sponsor ad again, because do you guys remember the names of those guys who were playing And One basketball with? Do you remember?
Oh, no.
Weak Sauce. What are their names?
Oh, hot sauce.
Hot sauce, not weak sauce.
Not weak sauce.
The exact opposite of that.
Oh, my God. You're going to get a strongly worded letter from his people.
I'm sorry. And One basketball. Hot sauce, not weak sauce. I just remember I was looking at that over the weekend thinking, like, do people have friends named that? There's nobody named Hot Sauce at my synagogue.
If you've watched any of the street ball on ESPN, they have some that I unfortunately don't remember any of them, but some of their names are just insane.
Yeah. This is their nicknames.
Yeah.
That's almost a gamer tag.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess it is like a gamer tag.
Or your AIM name.
I got to come
up with crazy.
All right.
So what about hot sauce? That's it?
Nothing.
That was
I got I didn't even know I brought that.
Should we talk about the next issue? Did you want to talk about
are we done with sex?
Are we ever?
No, never.
Yeah.
But
I mean, did you think that this was was it worth it? I mean, did you get stuff out of that?
Yeah, I did, and I also think the developers who were there did, which I think it was mainly for them, is to start thinking about these issues. I think they were able to meet other people who were doing the same thing, and it's kind of something that's sort of on the down low, maybe.
Yeah,
so maybe
sure.
it's not something that you would know a whole lot about if you were doing it. And I think they got some really useful information, especially from Sherry Grainer-Ray, who's the author of Gender Inclusive Game Design was her last book. She's working on a new book now that's not about gender. It's just about game design. But she had a lot of interesting things to say about how to bring female players to an MMOEG or to erotic games. She said, like flipping the sort of what a lot of male developers think is you have virtual hottie, and they think if they just make the model into a man, then boom, you can sell it to women. And she's like, no, it doesn't work like that. It's something else. And so she gave a talk about that, and that was really interesting.
My big fear in an MMOEG, were I to play it, I would have many big fears, but one of them would be that if I wanted to go on to do whatever I would do in there, that the quote unquote women I would be talking to would actually just be other 40-year-old guys, right?
Right.
Like it is in WoW.
And they addressed that, and some people were saying it doesn't matter to some people because they are just in the realm of fantasy and they don't want to think too much about it. But for other people, it is a big concern. And then so maybe there are areas where you can go to where it's voice chat enabled or something, things like that, so that you can try to cater to a lot of
course, a really good falsetto would screw that up too. Hello, Jeff.
Yeah.
That's convincing.
My breasts.
That's not Jane talking,
Perhaps.
by the way.
And of course, I'm saying this as someone who was traumatized by Robert Coffey's Star Wars Galaxy's persona.
What are you talking about?
Some explaining.
Robert is a strange man.
Well, he wrote about it. He wrote about it in his column for CGW, but he spent a great many hours, way too many hours, as a lap dancer in Star Wars Galaxies.
I thought that was Sims. That was Star Wars that he did?
Star Wars Galaxies.
You could be a lap dancer in Star Wars?
Yeah, you could be a dancer.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he just took that to the next level, as they say in the gaming business.
I remember walking by the Cube one day, and all of a sudden I hear him scream and go, "I'm a whore!" And I just stopped and said,
well, he did that before he ever played Star Wars Galaxy.
Well, we know that. But, I kind of stopped, look over the side of the Cube. He's like, "Oh, someone just paid me for dancing for him." I'm like, okay.
That was probably the beginning of his career, because then he really got into it. He had regular clients. I mean, he would talk about it. We'd be out, in public at lunch, and you'd say, "Oh, one of my clients gave me a new necklace today," and we're like, "Robert, come on!"
But I think
inside
it's great.
voice.
I mean, I think it's fantastic because really, you can explore lots of different things, and the repercussions, which there are some, because some people do get emotionally involved, and that's where it can be dangerous if there's two people talking and one thinks it's just whatever in the realm of fantasy, and I'm really not who I say I am, and the other person says, hey, let's meet, I've fallen in love, and then it's like, whoa, what do you do?
Yeah,
that's hard.
Yeah, I've heard of plenty of friends about that. Yeah,
a little scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew two guys who were playing one character in, and they were game developers too, so that's why I'm not going to say their name, but they were playing their own MMO, and they were playing as a female character, and they got a male character to basically fall in love with them, and they were going to get married in the game, and the guy, this gamer on the other side, was really into it. I mean, it was their characters getting married, but he was saying a lot of stuff in chat that was like, I'm really into you, blah, 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 blah. And at the 11th hour, they finally said, okay, hey, look, that this is just for fun, and actually we're two guys here, and blah, blah, blah. And they never heard from that guy again.
Yeah, that's hard.
And somewhere he's brokenhearted.
But there were some stories recently about, wasn't it in, what magazine was it that I was reading about these two people who fell in love? And anyway, there's been some mainstream press attention paid to places like WoW and stuff, where actual relationships.
We just had an article about that in their July issue, so maybe it was CGW.
Yeah, that's right. There was one in CGW. Yeah, we should talk about the issue. There was one. I feel like I saw one in the newspaper also recently about WoW, and I know Wired has always been interested in doing stories.
I was gonna say, when you're talking about the sex and gaming conference, that in the last couple issues we've run a couple articles on sex and gaming, and we have gotten so much hate mail over that.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Just for talking about it.
Just for talking about it. I don't want to read about sleazy porno stuff
or the moms or dads getting mad or something.
A little bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I buy this magazine so my son can see severed heads.
Right.
I like it, breasts.
I like to think there's a non-vocal majority who are reading it and going, "Yeah, good article," rather than the vocal minority who are always complaining. Because if you live by the email complaints, then it's a very sad life.
But we really were trying to write articles that were actually talking about these things, and we're just like, there's sex in games.
Right. And you still got the letters.
Well,
don't talk about that.
Unfortunately, I think there's the attitude that gamers and people who write about games are exactly that.
Yeah.
They're the dopey, wanting to be the teenager the rest of their life. And that's kind of like the attitude, and where some of these people are coming from. It's like, well, you're just talking about it to talk about tits.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's spouting out my ass, so.
We've been using a lot of profanity in this podcast.
No, not really.
No? We were okay?
No.
We don't have the explicit tag yet?
No.
Well, tits is not allowed.
Now you tell.
Is that one of the
Sorry.
Is that one of the
It's 7? One of the FCC rules of 7. It is, which doesn't make any sense to me, but it is.
You can't say tits, but you could say...
No, Jeff, you can't. But you can say tits.
Even if you say it one more time.
Tits.
Do you want to go through the list?
I was thinking this is the 1 week my daughter's not going to be able to listen.
The 1 week.
Okay.
What else do we have on our list here that we could talk about? Let's get away from this topic.
We could talk about the issue that's coming out, possibly, if you want.
What are the highlights of the next issue, kids?
Yeah.
Let's go into that.
Do we want to talk about that? That's like a spoiler.
Is it? Oh, the one we're working on now?
The one we're working on now is the one with Splinter Cell on the cover.